I'm gonna go this one in 10 seconds. Arigato. All right, guys, get ready. 10 seconds. .6 FM, Yoma Time. This is Positive Vibes with Winsome. We are back again for another Saturday. I have two amazing special guests with me. I have Kiana Smith and Destiny Simeon. We're going to talk about their topic in a few minutes. They're overdue. I should have had them on here a long time ago. I've been beating myself up about it, but I'm so glad that we finally got them down here on a Saturday, rainy day here in Okinawa. But it is a 4-day break for us. We got a little bit of things to talk about this month, about this break, what it's about and what we're doing. And I want to start off by saying thank you, guys. Come on in. You guys want to introduce yourselves real quick? Who's this lady with the orange jacket on right quick? Who are you, ma'am?
I am Destiny Simeon, Airman First Class Destiny Simeon, stationed at Kadena Air Base. And I'm so excited to be here, so thank you for having me.
Hey, I'm glad you finally made it over here. My bad on the late invite. But we have some great topics. What are you going to be talking about today?
I'm going to be talking about some of the Black History Month special observances that I'm coordinating this month, and I'm super excited about them.
Awesome. And then to your left, we have Miss Kiana Smith. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
And ma'am, you're also going to be talking about what today with us?
I'm going to be discussing the importance of Black History Month.
Nice. We're going to get right into it. We got, of course, you guys know we got 3 segments. The first segment, we're going to talk about Black History Month today. The second segment, we're going to go freestyle. I got to figure out what I want to talk about during the break. No, I'm kidding. Second segment, we'll go, of course, into resiliency and talking about some positive vibes. And the third segment, we'll hit on the topics for the Air Force Wounded Warrior Wellness and Resiliency Team. Some topics from throughout the week. Of course, this week they had their Wellness Care event, which was the virtual care event all week. So without further ado, my teammate, Destiny Simeon, doing great things this month for Black History Month, man. I mean, but you always do great things. But this month, you had an opportunity to lead some events, right?
Yes. I got to be the project officer for the special observances for Black History Month. We're having a golf tournament on 19 February at the Kadena Golf Course.
Nice.
Check-in starts at 7:10, and then the actual event starts at 0800. There's going to be prizes. If you're a golfer, you got to be out there. It's going to be so much fun. And we just wanted to start the month off with something for morale to just get everybody involved. And then after that, we have an essay contest for the month, and the topic for that is why is diversity important in today's Air Force? That topic really spoke to me because we're still seeing so many firsts. We just had the first Black SecDef, which was amazing, and we just people just keep breaking these glass ceilings, and I kind of wanted to highlight that. Winner is going to get $200, so I think that's pretty sweet. We're also having a movie night at the Keystone Theater at Kadena Air Base. It's going to be on 26 Feb. It's at 2 o'clock. We're doing a showing of Black Panther.
Nice.
And USO will provide the snacks so like popcorn and candy for moviegoers, and it's free, so just show up, bring your kiddos. Everybody loves Black Panther. I know I do.
Nice.
Last but not least, the one that I'm most excited about is our pop-up Black History Month Museum. It's on the 27th of February, which is like later on in the month. What I really wanted to do was to highlight Air Force and civil rights leaders and their contributions to society and to the Air Force. And that one it's going to be like around midday, so families can come. It's free as well. The only requirement is that throughout all of these events, masks are required so that we keep COVID in mind and stay vigilant against it.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So let's do a quick run through one more time. So the first event is the golf event, right?
Yes, sir.
And what day is that?
19 Feb.
19 Feb. And where is that at?
It's at the Kadena Golf Course.
Nice. And what's the second one?
The second one is the movie night at the Keystone Theater at Kadena. That one is 26 Feb, and it starts at 2 o'clock, and we're showing Black Panther.
Black Panther, 2 o'clock, Keystone Theater if you're on Kadena Air Base. All right, what's the next one?
Our next one is the essay contest. It's for highlighting diversity. Winner gets $200.
Okay.
And our last event is the pop-up museum. It's at the Kadena E-Club Ballroom, and it's on the 27th of February.
27. Now, the essay contest. So how do they get prepped for that? Is there information, rules? So what's the rules on that one?
Yes, so the rules for that, it's we're kind of doing it restricted. So E1 through E5, and we'll
Okay.
send it out, and literally you just 1 to 2 pages,
Yeah.
double space, 12-point font. Give us your best shot.
Okay, so for all of these events that you just mentioned, who, if they want to get in touch, have some questions, or people want to know how do I show up and what I need to do, especially for like the pop-up museum, what if they want details, who do they contact?
They can contact me. Do I need to give my personal email?
No, just give it whatever email you want.
You can contact my official email at destiny.simeon@us.af.mil. My last name is spelled Simien, or you can even call me or text me on my personal phone number, which is...
Don't get that out on the radio. Girl, this live. This the whole Okinawa. Hey, she's ready, y'all. Black History Month. So if you guys didn't hear, we got a bunch of great events going on. Erin Massimi is the project officer, which I'm so proud to hear that she stepped up for this. This is a wonderful opportunity for her to lead some great things. And 4 events, man, and not to mention the one she said she's really excited about on the 27th, pop-up museum. Speak on some civil rights leaders and some of the other things that were contributing to what we were able to do today in 2021. So, ma'am, thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
honored to we have gotten the opportunity to do this.
Thank you so much. Now, without further ado, those events that you're speaking on, all those 4, there's reasons, right? There's a purpose
Yes,
why
sir.
that's important. And Kiana, you wanted to come in, and I'm so glad. I asked her, guys. I kind of threw this at her last minute. And I was like, hey, I want to talk about Black History Month, and I want to really cover why it's important and why people should care. You know, it's not just a date or a month on the calendar, and there's impactful stories behind every one of these events. And Key, if you don't mind, ma'am, can you talk to us why Black History Month is important?
Right. So before we even talk about the significance for those listeners out there, what is Black History Month? Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievements by African Americans. It is a time for recognizing our critical role in U.S. history. Black history is U.S. history. So Black history originally grew from what was known as Negro History Week, and that was founded by a Black historian, Carter G. Woodson, and the Association for Study of Negro Life and History. And this was in the early 1900s, 1926 to be exact. So fast forward to the 1970s. 1976, the former president, Gerald Ford, officially recognized Black History Month.
Nice.
That is a 50-year time span. His goal with his official recognition of this month is for the public to seize the opportunity to recognize the often neglected achievements of African Americans. And you'll hear me continuously say this, that Black history is American history.
There you go.
It's important because a lot of people, including African Americans, don't know the history of African Americans in the United States. It's important for all people, just not Black people, all people, to know the story of African Americans, but because oftentimes the scope of Black history is limited to the enslavement of African Americans, to Rosa Parks, then we go to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to the Civil Rights Movement, but it's far more than those significant events in our history. But there's a lot of things that we have done, from being inventors, chemists, scientists, presidents, vice presidents. And it was a time where Black history was ignored. So it's important to spend time looking at history, Black history, in all forums. And Dr. Martin Luther King had a dream, right?
Yep.
So I talk to my children, and my dream is that one day we won't have to limit Black history as a people to February, but it'll be celebrated throughout every month of the year. Because once again, Black history is U.S. history.
That is amazing. And the points you brought out there, and you drew out a lot of things. When you mention Black History Month, everyone automatically associates those keystone events, right? Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech.
Right.
And there's so much beneath the layers. We're talking about the movie that just came out today, as a matter of fact, which talks about the Black Panther Party for self-defense and why, as African Americans or Black Americans, we would have to even have a party for self-defense. What were we defending against? And it was we look at 2020. We had all the civil unrest back in the United States, right? And then you look at, by comparison, it wasn't that much different than what we were dealing with, 50, 60, 70 years ago, right? Within the last, the entire last century. So what do you think, and Destiny, I got you here, and I love the fact that you were here with us today. What was the most significant takeaway from planning these events that you had? Why do you think it was so important to do it, not just say in February, just to do it for the base?
It's important because how we move forward is education. There's, like Kiana said, there's so much that we don't know. We're limited to just the few keynotes, like spark notes of Black history, and there's so much more to it. And so I kind of wanted to put that education out there so that way we can, how we move forward is knowledge.
Right.
So we don't repeat our mistakes.
We say that, what's the phrase? Knowledge is power, right?
It
Amen.
is.
Knowing where you came from help you figure out where you're going, and you can be stronger along
My
the way.
mama said.
Hey, trying to tell you. So, but the two ladies here, and why, again, Black History Month, Key, and I'm going to ask you this question too. When you look at the way we used to tell history in school and the stories we used to, track and follow, knowing the importance of knowing the true history of Black history and being able to educate and motivate, like you mentioned, our kids, what have you learned as a parent?
So as a parent, I followed the mold that my parents set for me, right? Because the first educator is the parents.
That's it.
If you're not learning in the home and you're depending on the education system to teach your children, that's where we're failing.
Right.
So as a parent, it's my obligation, my duty to start this education in home. I want my kids to know the history of people who look like them.
Right.
Right. I don't want them just to know those keynotes that we were speaking about, but to know all of our history.
Right.
So that's where I start there. And it starts at a young age.
Yep.
Reading them their books.
Yeah.
And like my son, Khalil, he's 12 years old. And today we were talking about some of the inventors, and it warmed my heart that he just didn't name the typical inventors. He was like, Otis Boykin.
Yeah.
He made the pacemaker. Right? And I'm like, a little pat on my back. I'm proud of myself and my husband for instilling that in our children.
Right.
And it starts at home.
Yeah, indeed. So the education center system, of course, there's changes that are in development.
Right.
Right. To tell the true history, not only just Black history, but history in general. You got a lot of teachers that are going through and rewriting these books because they know there's a lot of the story that wasn't told. You, as a student, right, and you're in school now, pre-law, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, sir.
So as a student, knowing that the history changed, now what does that do to you? Knowing that the stories that were told and what you read and studied as a high school student, right? It's going to be some completely different books for the kids going through this next generation. How does that make you feel?
It really warms my heart to know that they're going to get a fuller story of Black history because it's so important. There's like so many, it's so intricate, and there's so many things that like you learn and then the light bulb clicks. Like I never knew how they're connected. So for me, going from high school to college now, where the textbooks are a little bit more information, it's just like, wow, like I never knew that. And it's like you piece things together and it's like no clue.
I like the Black history. When you go on Facebook or any kind of social media now, you see, did you know?
Yes.
Right? Did you know? And of course you can't trust everything for face value, but it kind of makes you think, okay, wow, no, I didn't know that a Black person invented that. I didn't know a Black person was the first to do that. I didn't know that idea came from a Black person. And because with that part of our history stripped away, we don't realize how incredible we are.
Right.
And I think that's power in itself. And I'm really proud of the educators who are taking that stance to change and correct history, correct the story that's being told. Ladies, we got a minute left. You got any message for now remember, we have Japanese and American listeners. So for our Japanese family who aren't familiar with a lot of the Black history, is any message that you want to portray, any kind of things that you would might motivate?
What I would say is educate yourself.
Nice.
It all starts with education. And just don't limit it to February. Do it throughout the year.
Nice.
Incorporate your own history. So we could get to a point where, like I said before, American history is Black history, Native American history, it's history.
Yep.
And it's important to know our history as a people. So just educate yourself.
Destiny, you have anything?
I would just point out that we should look at Black history as celebratory of Black history and not as a slight to any other kind of history. It's just that this month was set aside to celebrate Black history. It doesn't mean we're taking away from Native American history or Spanish history. It's just celebratory Saturday, so we all just celebrate it.
I love it. Telling the correct history, the correct story, and showing that you know if you are a Black person, a white person, Japanese person, that you understand the history of those folks that you live with and work with every day. And thank you guys for coming. I really, truly appreciate it. You're welcome to stay for the next 2 segments. That's us, man, talking about Black History Month. And we've got some great events going on in Condena. We'll be right back right after this break. S- 78.6 FM Yomaton. This is Positive Vibes with Winsome, and we're back. We just had 2 great guests on here, Destiny Simeon and Kiana Smith. We want to give them some time to talk about Black History Month. Now, again, as an African-American male, Black male, everything about this month, of course, is exciting for me. A lot of history that if I didn't know, I know now, right? And it's always awesome to renew a lot of that information, to recycle it through my mind, educate, the children, educate the team that's around me if they didn't know. The questions come up. Black History Month is special. I mean, every month that you're able to celebrate a different nationality, a different blessing to our world is incredible. What we mentioned too in the last segment was really it's all about knowing where you came from, and knowing who your people are, your lifeline, your bloodline, right? And it's incredible, and it's a power in itself. So thank you for those guests. I know they can't stay for the rest of the segment, but I'm truly appreciative that they were able to make it for the first segment. Now, moving forward, when we talk about knowing yourself, right, and history of you, what about backing yourself? What about trusting yourself, loving yourself, believing in yourself? So you guys know right now on my day job, I'm teaching on self-care. And one of the things that we've been talking a lot about is how to take care of you. Do you know yourself? Do you love yourself? Do you understand that how powerful you are and how your life is a blessing? Everything about your life is amazing and magical. And it was cool, you get things from all over the room. And you bounce ideas off each other. I know the Friday class that I taught on self-care was the 3 o'clock. Everybody like, it was about to pass out, right? Long week, and just get to the rest of it. But what was important and what was special about it is that even though it's a different group of people, there's always the same feeling of, wow. And then realize there's so many different ways to take care of myself. And I was excited, of course, about this first segment, but it's really hard to have things to be excited about when you're so limited, for some people. It's hard for some people to find excitement like today. It's a rainy day, right? On a beautiful island. Kind of hard not to be able to go do things. What we talked about was backing yourself and knowing yourself. And the phrase is, when you love the person that you are, you're never alone, right? You twist it up and you say, when you're in love with the person that you're alone with, you're never truly lonely, right? And with that being said, you got to learn to love yourself and back yourself. Trust those decisions. I talked to my baby brother this morning, and a quick shout out to you, Chris, man. I needed your words because there's so much going on every day in my life, so many different puzzle pieces that it's kind of hard to put them all together and see what I'm supposed to truly be doing with it. And I told him that. I said, hey, man, I'm struggling with a couple of things. And I threw it out there to him. And you know what he said, man? And I tell him all the time, I love him, man, because, there's nobody that loves you more than the person that grew up with you. And he said 100%. He said, hey, man, just take a step back, look at it, and put your masterpiece together, man. You got all the pieces right there in front of you. You just can't see it because you're probably looking with your eyes, but you're not using your heart. Or vice versa. You got your brain too far in it, and your heart's not there at all. Wow, you're right, man. I'm probably looking at this whole thing too tough. Like everything I got going on, I'm putting too much into it. I need to pull back a little bit just to see it clear. And I'm always teaching my students, right? You can't eat the whole elephant, or you can't see the whole elephant if you got your face on its belly. You got to back up to see what it is. And so I find myself in that predicament this week. But again, I had a new energy after that conversation. He was right. Just got to breathe. I got to take a moment. And that's what I think all of us sometimes fail to do. We get so wrapped up in everyday life, everyday stressors and things going on around us that we start doubting our capabilities. We start doubting how much time in the day there is, if we can get it done. We start doubting who we are, right? We start doubting our purpose because life's getting in the way. Things are getting in the way. And that's where we want to flip it. And that's where sometimes we got to take that pause, that time out, and look at things differently. Sometimes you got it, and I'm glad I got those accountability buddies, or those battle buddies, as you will, that'll say, hey, man, pause. You're moving too fast. You need to calm down for a second and look at it with different pairs of eyes. I see you, but I don't think you see what's in front of you. And so we ask that when you're going through things and when you're dealing with something, do you have someone to bounce that off of? Do you trust yourself enough that when it's time to reset and restart and focus, that you're actually going to be able to achieve that focus? Or do you get so frustrated and anxious that you just don't really know where to start? Favorite term, one of them, if you don't know where, start now. Start there. Start right there. If you don't know when, start now. It's where you are and now. Doesn't matter where you're trying to go. If you're never going to get there if you never get started on a path. So asking questions for me is not necessarily reaching out, and it's not always about reaching out for help. Sometimes it's just reaching out to redirect, right? Reaching out for support, which I guess would be help. Reaching out because you want to change directions, or you want to make sure you're going in the right path to get to your goal. I heard something beautiful this morning. I always listen to positive affirmation, and they were saying the path changes sometimes. And oftentimes as we grow, our path may change a lot. And necessarily doesn't mean that our finish line is going to change, but sometimes it might. Some people might be working towards retirement, trying to save a certain amount of money, trying to achieve a certain body, others trying to achieve a certain mindset. Think about it. All of these things, what happens when you achieve it? I got the body I always wanted. What do I do now? I got the money I always want to save. What do I do next? So all these things, it comes into play. That was your first plan. Did you have a next plan? Did you have another mountain that you were trying to get to? You climbed the top of that mountain that you set for, right? You climbed to the top of your Everest. What do you do next? I always feel for that scientist, right? That wanted that big breakthrough, and then they get it. And they're like, what is the next one? How many scientists you hear about that had all these breakthroughs, but they had that one powerful one? And sometimes that's all it took for them to feel accomplished. And they might have settled with that and been at peace with that. Then you have other scientists. Okay, that was the first one. I'm looking for the next one. Inventors. I created something. I want to create something more. Trust yourself. Know yourself, believe in yourself. And I love that phrase. Destiny mentioned earlier the movie Black Panther. I love it, and I always mention this as often as I can. Remember who you are. Remember that. And if you remember who you are, you'll always never, so I say always never, you'll always have some sort of destination. Because when you started on that journey, you had somewhere you were trying to go. It ties us back to when you feel like quitting, remember why you started, right? It's all of those things tied into one, and that's you. I mentioned something to the folks in class last week, and I really started driving home with this one. But guess what? Your body itself, you are a miracle. You are special. Every single one of you is different. Every single one of us has a different heart, a different brain, different set of lungs, a different set of ribs, whatever you call it, spinal cord. Everything about us, we're built different. We are different. We're unique and wonderfully made. We are special. And when you start looking at your life like that, when you start realizing that you are special, you are a beautiful creation. And I told folks here on this island, they junk their cars in right after their usage. You can't junk this body out. You only get one. You only get one. And you got to treat it right. You got to treat it special. You got to treat it like the blessing and the gift that it is. And I think a lot of us forget that when we get into our day-to-day grind. We're more focused on getting things done than taking care of ourselves and trusting ourselves, believing in ourselves, and remembering why we started this journey, because guess what? We're on the track running. But what are you running to? So I saw this week when we were talking to our group, when we were talking about different things. The last group really didn't have a whole lot of ideas when it came to taking care of yourself, right? They're stuck into what they can't do versus what they can do. So we throwing ideas around. I threw some out there just to see what we got back. And the biggest thing I told them, I said, remember one thing, that even if you got sick right now, your body's going to fight. Your body is going to fight it. Your body's going to try to survive, goes into survival mode. You don't control it. You don't tell the white blood cells or whatever the blood cells are what to do. It just does it. You don't tell your heart to beat. It just does it. You don't tell yourself while you're sleeping how to breathe. It just happens. So these are the things that we don't take in consideration, that we take for granted when it comes to loving and believing in ourselves and realizing that our life is a gift. It's truly a gift. So when you're going to your day-to-day grind, starting next week, when you guys, or whatever, if you're working this weekend, remember that. When you're going in and you have to show up at a certain time, did you give any time? Did you build any time in there for you? Did you say, hey, I got a 12-hour day, but on one of these hours, I need to do something for me? Did you say at a total of 18 hours I'm awake? 19, 22, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. 17, 18 hours I'm awake. You notice how to do with my fingers and my hands. Do I give myself at least an hour in there in that whole day to do something for me? You got to take care of yourself. You got to love yourself enough to find that time. And that's what I really pulled away from every class that I taught this week. It was just one. It was just self-care. I didn't do the speech class or the emotional intelligence this week. It was just self-care. But that was enough. The beautiful people that came through that class and some of the things they threw out and put on the table about ways to take care of themselves, especially the Wednesday class. Friday, not so much. People were tired. I could see it in their faces. They were tired. And that just told me that this has been a trying week for more than just me. And it's not necessarily stress. It's how you deal with the day, right? Because remember what we said weeks ago. You decide, point blank, you decide if your day is good or bad. And I tell you, if I survive the day, I had a good day. If I get through the day and my body's still 100%, I had a good day. Things that happen to make it a busy day or a rough day, right? But it's still a good day if you make it to get ready for the next one. You got to find the good. We got to appreciate the good. We got to see the good because it's there. It's waiting for us to find it. This is 78.6 FM Yomatan, Positive Vibes with Winsome. Be right back. 78.6 FM, Yomaton. This is Positive Vibes with Winsome, and we're back. Hey, so one of the cool things, we do is the third segment is always dedicated to the Air Force Wounded Warrior Wellness and Resiliency Team. And to this last week, they had their virtual care event, which I had a wonderful opportunity to speak for an hour and talk to the Warriors. And let me tell you something about that organization, man. Never ceases to amaze me. I mean, there's never an opportunity that, or should I say, there's never a time that I don't see how beautiful that entire vision is. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the Wounded Warrior team, for taking care of our warriors, man. And thank you for the warriors that are finding time and making it a point to take care of themselves. One of the cool things they did this week was at the virtual care event that I was tracking was Tai Chi. Right, one of the guys came online and was like, "Hey, man, thank you guys for the Tai Chi. I learned a lot of things about breathing." And he was a jiu-jitsu coach who had never done Tai Chi, and he said he tried it for the first time, and it was one of those things that took him into a different place mentally, and he wants to implement that into his daily routine. And I think that alone speaks volumes for how beautiful the actions that this team takes. They introduce things to the Wounded Warriors that they're not used to doing, right? There's something new every time, and it's always supported by beautiful people with great hearts, man. And that's one of the things about the Wellness and Resiliency team that I'm proud of the most. Additionally, we also talked about during the journaling this week, man. One of the big things was still goal setting. So, we talked about that on AFN too, earlier in January, goal setting. And it's huge, man. Talking about the different things that setting the goals, be the goals, and reach the goals is what the Wounded Warriors are pushing out this week. And they also did a PDF out there, little, should I say, lesson plan. If you guys are trying to journal, it's the newest journaling course, getting journals done in 7 days. It's called Goal Getting in 7 days. So if you're interested, man, jump into that. If you're military or prior military, the Air Force Wounded Warrior Wellness and Resiliency team has a page out there that has some really great information. One of the things we posted was anti-bucket list, right? Because we always got bucket list, anti-bucket list. What are some of the things that you never want to do, man? We had some really cool comments and funny comments coming back. I mean, you had some people talking about skydive. They don't want to skydive, right? It's not on their bucket list to skydive. I get it. Hey, never want to wrestle a crocodile, alligator. All right, cool. I never want to wrestle a crocodile or alligator either, right? And then we had a whole lot of skydiving that people just did not want to skydive. Marathons. Some people have, I guess there are some folks later in life that say they want to run a marathon. But folks are like, hey, man, that's not on my bucket list. So that was pretty cool. Funny things. Getting bit by a shark is not on someone's bucket list. But think about it. What is your bucket list? Honestly, what is your bucket list? So we talk about the anti-bucket list. What is yours? What are the things that you always wanted to do that you never did? What are the things on your bucket list right now that you can do that doesn't require you to risk your life trying to get through COVID travels? But what is it that you can do in the place that you are that is on your bucket list? And I'm going to ask you, why haven't you done it? You know that was coming, right? Why haven't you done it? What's keeping you from doing the item that's on your anti-bucket list? So when you ask that question, you ask your friends, what is that on your anti-bucket list, or your bucket list, excuse me? What are some of the things? For me, I'll tell you, most of mine involve traveling. It's not here in Okinawa. One of the bucket list items I have currently for Okinawa is to see all of the islands that are co-located here. I've already started with Iijima, but there's so many more. One of my friends, Gene, had one he wanted me to go see. I don't want to jump on my phone again, but I have a lot of places here locally that don't require me putting myself at risk that I have on my bucket list. Another bucket list, as you guys know, learning how to scuba dive, man. Getting in the water with the gear on. I don't have to be nowhere special to do that. I can learn right here, right? In the progress, in case you guys don't know, in progress. So I'm going to show y'all some pics one of these days with me in the scuba gear. It's going to happen. All right, it's going to happen. I'm calling it. But another thing, too, man, is some people don't ever think that those bucket list items can't ever happen. So it's just kind of like a pipe dream for them. They go to the grave with it, never really truly trying to make it happen. And my thing is that you? Is your bucket list just that something that's going to go to the bucket with you? Or are you turning it into an item that you want to do before you actually go down to your last day. That's what I would do. That's what I'm trying to do, man. So setting goals in 7 days, knowing what is on your bucket list, what you want to do with your life, man. What are those things? So another question that the team asked, they said, have you ever had a day that you just want to hit the reset button? Tell me what you do when you need to reset your day. What is those days? And I think I mentioned this last segment, and I want to mention it again. Pause. Pause. When you're having a really bad day, pause. You know why? What's going to happen is going to allow you to reset. It's going to allow you to start your time over. It's going to allow you to pause where you're at, be in that moment, and realize that you control what happens next, right? Stop allowing everybody to think that you can be emotionally manipulated because they say something to throw your day off and you can't recover from it. Pause. When you need to reset, when you need to do great things, you go ahead and you do those great things with your day. Don't let anyone pull you away from it. You keep it moving. Even when you have someone who's just poking the bear, don't let them throw you off your game. Don't let them throw you off your goal, which is to have a good, blessed day. 100%. Think about this. You control the outcome of your day. You control how you respond to everything that happens in your day. People can poke the bear all they want to, but how do you respond to it? Because a mentally strong person doesn't give people energy that don't deserve it. They learn how to control their energy. And you got that in you. And if you don't, hey, you know you can email me. I'll tell you how to grow some of those, because I've had to. We've all had to be there at the point where we've allowed someone to poke the bear, and the bear came out the corner like, rah, right? Ready. But let me tell you something. When it's time for you to reset your day, pause. Try to look at it from a different perspective. Walk away. Go to a restroom to take a breather. Go to your car. Turn the AC on in your face. Whatever you got to do, pause, reset, and then come back and approach it the way that you want it to. Take your day back. Take control of your day. I have one of my folks, my teammates, right? And they were telling me how it's hard because sometimes when I have to do A, B, or C, it makes me really doubt myself. What about it makes you doubt yourself? What is it that's involved in this situation that you don't think you can come back from, that you think that you're just not going to be successful? Take that off the table. Reset before you go in, so you don't have to reset from the event. Mentally prepare yourself for it. I like the question. I love the question. I always do when a group asks, especially one about resetting your day, because we've all had days like that. But not all of us have the tools in the toolkit to know what to do next. So I'm going to give it to you. Somebody starts your day out. You start your day off positive, and hopefully you're doing what we suggested a long time ago, and you're starting your day off with gratitude. You're writing down 3 things that make your day great, right? Or the night before. You write down 3 things. So when you wake up, you look at what you wrote down the night before, and your day is great because you start off with positivity, because you're grateful about what you have in your life, and you're trying to build up on what you were grateful for the night before. Think about this. If you're using these journals, how we mentioned this in the Wounded Warriors page, if you're using a journal and you're writing in it every night and you're writing down 3 things you're grateful for, and then you wake up the next day and you look at those things you're grateful for, you have a new sense of gratitude. You have a new energy to start your day. You're positive. You're happy. You're going. And it's like, I got this. And then you got that vibe going, right? You're going, listen to some positive affirmation on the way to work, listening to that song that makes you happy. Some of you might work out in the morning, get your juices flowing so you're ready for the day. You're going into work, you're in a great mood. You got a good workout in, and then you get some really bad news. The boss tells you your paper that you turned in sucked. Your coworker is poking the bear. You got somebody from a different office that doesn't like you, bumps into you in the hallway, knocks your coffee out your hand. How do you respond? Keep control of your day. Tell yourself, that was just one instant. That was just 30 seconds out of how many minutes in a day? I'm not going to let that take my whole day away from me. Think about that. That's just one person out of how many people do I work with? I'm not going to let that ruin my day. Let's shoot, even take it down from there. That's one person in the 7 billion people in this world. I am not worried about them because I'm doing me. You got to take care of you. You got to know your heart. You got to know your mind. And these are the things that we were talking about all week. Know yourself. Love yourself. Trust yourself enough to know that you got it, that you can make it, that you can get through the day positively, that people can't manipulate you mentally and emotionally and throw you off your game, that your game is so strong, your mind is so tough that you got it. And if you're not there yet, that's okay. What did I tell you a few minutes ago? Start where you are. Start now. That's it. You don't have to go 20 miles away to get that energy. It starts within you. Get your mindset wrapped around it now. You guys got this, man. We had one of the posts also in the group was talking about TED Talks and how to move on after failure and rebuild your confidence. I didn't watch TED Talk. I don't watch TED Talks because, as you know, I'm a competitive Toastmaster. So I don't like watching other people's speeches because it's going to throw me off whatever I'm planning to do for mine. It's just the way my mind works. I don't want that tip unless I'm preparing and I know that somebody is doing something that I want to put into mine. But if it's just a random TED Talk, I usually stay away from it because it's going to throw me off my game, right? But there's some great messages out there. Before I started doing the Toastmasters or the speech competitions, there was some great discussions out there. There's some great topics. And one of them was, what one of my teammates found, is how to move on after failure and rebuild your confidence. So think about that. There's some discussions, people's concepts. Now, you know, everybody's thought process doesn't have to be your own. But there are some out there. So think about those things as you're moving forward with your week and your day, that you're not alone. You're not by yourself. Everyone has the same frustrations, anxieties, disappointments, disturbing situations, and people that just throw them off their game. But the successful ones know how to handle it. The successful, the mentally strong, the emotionally capable ones, the ones that are able to get through what seems like the most frustrating of situations with calmness, tactfulness. And you seem like they're unaffected. They are. They just know how to flip that switch. They know how to be unaffected to the point where it's going to throw them off the rest of the day. They leave it where it was and only give it the amount of energy that it deserves. And we all learn it. We all go through it. Trust me, there's things that surprise me to this day, about to be 42 years old. There's things that surprise me to this day. I'm like, what? That just happened? But it's not what happens to you. It's not what's said to you. It's not what's done to you. The important thing is how you respond. So take everything we said today, man. I really appreciate anybody who was listening. We talked about Black history, right? We talked about how to come back and trust yourself. Know yourself. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. You can't take care of anybody else if you're not taking care of you. And then we also went back and we started talking about what was going on with the Air Force Wounded Warriors Wellness and Resiliency Team. Journaling, right? If you could reset your day, right? Listening to other people during positive affirmation like TED Talks and things of that nature. These are all things you can do for you. You are loved and there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful week. And I cannot wait to talk to you next weekend. 78.6 FM Yoma Time. Positive vibes.